Lightning is a turtle. He was born in a coffee can filled with sand. It wasn't his turtle mother he first saw, it was a human hand. He was glad he was born where he couldn't be eaten by wild critters. He very quickly loved the Spencers, who became his turtle sitters. His sitters loved the Lord, so they played Christian tapes and songs all day long. When you hear God's word, something special happens. He heard this in a song. God tells us faith comes by hearing His word in Romans 10:17. So guess what happened inside Lightning's heart when Jesus came on the scene? You guessed it, he asked Jesus into his heart. He felt so clean and bold. Joy filled his heart, and he thinks someday I'll walk on heaven's streets of gold. No matter what others did, he wanted to be pure all of his life and someday give himself as a wedding gift to his sweet Christian wife. Lightning lived without doing the bad things some boys without Jesus do. He knew the Bible when he was young, and he loved Jesus through and through. He would never know the sad things the devil does to people who sin. Jesus was always helping him to do right and helping him to win. He grew up strong in the Lord, full of love and power and a sound mind. Friends without God thought he was foolish. He understood and was kind. Now that he was all grown up, he needed a cute little turtle wife. But where could he find a Christian turtle to share the rest of his life? He loved the Spencers and all of his little friends, but they weren't enough. He walked the floor and thought about girls until his feet were sore and rough. Hooty the Owl is a gossip, always digging up everyone's past. Miss Red Fox is beautiful, soft, and fluffy, but too chatty and fast. Ricky the Raccoon spends her time washing when she could be in the Word. He liked Miss Bunny and thought she would make a better wife than a bird. Miss Possum plays all night and sleeps all day. I could never live that way. I know, I'll ask Blue Jay to look for a turtle when he flies each day. He thought about all his lady friends until he almost lost his mind. I guess he had forgotten God wanted him to marry his own kind. Mrs. Lizard knew Light was walking the floor because she lived upstairs. She thought if only he would ask Jesus, he would remove all his cares. How sad. He could make a mistake that will hurt him the rest of his life. Dear Jesus, please remind Lightning to ask you for the right Christian wife. Mrs. Spencer thought, my cousin who lives in Oregon owns a turtle, so she said, Light, pack your little suitcase, you're going to meet Myrtle. Light was so happy he danced a jig in spite of his tiny sore feet. He was hoping deep in his heart she would be pretty, playful, and sweet. They traveled along the ocean, then stopped in the giant redwoods to play. Finish the picnic, let's be on our way. We want to get there today. Brookings, Oregon, at last. The sun isn't down and we're in Myrtle's town. His legs were running as they lifted him from the car and set him down. He smiled as he crept toward Myrtle as fast as a turtle goes. He bobbed his head and up and down hello, then gave her a kiss on her nose. What are you doing here? I'm an old maid and I don't want you around. She pushed him over on his back where none of his feet could reach the ground. She stuck her nose high in the sky, then walked away, leaving him to die. His tender heart was broken and he felt so sad he wanted to cry. It was easy to see she didn't have Jesus living in her heart. Mr. Spencer picked him up and said, with God, you can make a new start. He wanted Myrtle to come live in his rocky house and share his life. Then he remembered, I forgot to ask Jesus for a Christian wife. Phooey with Myrtle, it's getting late and almost time to hibernate. I'm turning this over to God. I know He will find the perfect mate. Light felt good inside and thought, I should have asked God in the first place. Then he settled down in his little bed to dream of her pretty face. The story isn't finished until I say, living the Christian life is the happiest way. If you don't know Jesus as your best friend, please give Him your heart today. Don't be foolish like Light and forget to ask Jesus for the right mate. You should start asking right now, before you're grown up and old enough to date. God will have a surprise waiting for Light. When he wakes up in the spring, God can do anything. I know Light will be buying a wedding ring. I can see Lightning and his Christian wife in his house on his own land. There his children will be born, and not in coffee cans filled with sand.